Now, Washington mornings on the Mall. At AM 630.
Good morning, everybody. 8:07 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Joining us on the line right now, Mark Levin, the great one, host of the Mark Levin Show, heard each night right here on WMAL, author of The Liberty Amendments, Restoring the American Republic. Mark, good morning to you.
How are you, Brian?
I'm very well. Listen, we want to start off by talking about the Bergdahl deal. You always are talking about, the importance of having three distinct branches of government, that there's a reason that the Founding Fathers set up this idea of separation of powers. The latest manifestation of the executive branch excesses has to do with the Bergdahl case, in which the president failed to notify Congress of a prisoner swap, basically one deserter for 5 Taliban generals. Your thoughts?
My thought is that 30-day law is unlawful, and the Constitution empowers the president to do this. I know people get upset by this, but it's true. But it's not even the issue. When I watch these senators running up there saying he violated the law, he did more than that. He released 5 mass-murdering, genocidal maniacs on the planet. And that's worse than violating, quote-unquote, a law like this. You got to remember, when I was in the Reagan administration, we argued that things like the Bolin Amendment, restricting President Reagan's control over the funding of the freedom fighters in Nicaragua, was unconstitutional. So it's not even an issue if he broke the quote-unquote law. The point is, since when does a president, a commander-in-chief, take 5 of the most vile, heinous, subhuman beings and release them on what will be the battlefield?
So your position is that you think that it was a horrible trade, but he had the right to make a horrible trade.
My position is it's not a trade. This isn't baseball. My position is that Obama released 5 mass murderers who would like to take down more buildings in Manhattan and Los Angeles and detonate a nuke if they can into humanity. That's my problem, not some technical, did he violate this 30? And let's say he did violate it. What the hell are the Republicans in Congress going to do about it other than go on Fox and whine about it?
Right. Hey, Mark Levin, it's so good to have you on Mornings on the Mall because, your national show, obviously, which is, must listening for all of us on MAL, you mostly talk about national issues, but when you're here on our show, you can talk about Virginia. And boy, oh boy, did things erupt this weekend over Virginia. What do you think of what happened there with the Democrat Puckett resigning and maybe basically giving the Republicans a chance to block McAuliffe's plans?
I think it's terrific. I think the national Republicans in Congress can learn a lot from this.
Yeah.
Are you getting static? I apologize if you are.
That's okay, a little bit, but it's still worth it to talk to you, Mark.
The fact of the matter is that McAuliffe wanted to use his claimed dictatorial powers to impose Medicaid expansion on the state, just the way the Attorney General has imposed same-sex marriage and so forth. And so apparently, I hope they did, the Senate Republicans got together, although they seem to be denying it, and cut some deal with this guy to give him a better-paying job and a longer-term job because he was going to face a tough re-election. And now the Republicans, at least for the next 6 months or so, or about a year and a half, control the Senate. I think that's a great thing. I mean, I think you got to get down and dirty with these guys and fight their fight.
And now, what do you think is McAuliffe, before he had sort of this fig leaf of this tie-breaking majority in the Senate? Now that he doesn't have that, will he have any opportunity to try to push this through at the executive level? Can he?
I think he'll try. Look, this lawlessness thing that starts at the top with Obama, it's catchy, isn't it? I mean, these governors, some of them, and these attorneys general, they just decide they're going to change the rules and they're not going to defend their states. And McAuliffe is a sleazeball. He doesn't care about the law or the Constitution, and I'm sure he'll try and fight, to impose it. But at least then we'll have some legal standing to challenge him. I know of no authority under the Virginia Constitution or any state statute that empowers a governor to unilaterally act this way. So at least he'll be able to be challenged without a fig leaf of any legislative support.
There's nothing more precious to most Americans than the First Amendment. And yet Senator Chuck Schumer, a Democrat from New York State, who apparently does not even know that the Bill of Rights was written by James Madison. He thought it was Jefferson. Is leading a charge to change the First Amendment. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, my thoughts on Chuck Schumer are wide and deep, and they're very, very... well, anyway, let me just say this about Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer doesn't give a damn about the Constitution. can you imagine this guy? He gets out of college, gets out of law school. His first job is elected to the state assembly in New York. Second job is elected to the House of Representatives. Third job is elected to the Senate. He poses as this legislative and legal genius. He's been sitting on the Judiciary Committee forever, usually attacking the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms. That's how he became famous as a congressman. Now he attacks the First Amendment. He knows nothing about the Bill of Rights. He doesn't even know how it came to be. He doesn't even know Mason's involvement or Madison's involvement. Jefferson wasn't even around. As a matter of fact, when the Constitution itself was first drafted, Jefferson was in France. Adams was in France. The Bill of Rights, most of the Bill of Rights, those amendments come from the states. When the states ratified the Constitution, they said, oh, and by the way, we want this, 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 and this. And Madison and others had to agree to it or there wouldn't be a Constitution today. I am appalled that people like Schumer and by the way, 42 Democrats in the U.S. Senate think nothing of altering political free speech in this country. Think about this, guys. If these men and women in Congress, the Democrats in particular, really had their way, what kind of country would we be living in? Think about the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and the Fourth Amendment and the Fifth Amendment and the Tenth Amendment. I'm serious about this. Think about private property rights. If there wasn't some effort to stop these people, this country would be completely different.
Yeah, no, Mark, that's the real scandal, that 42 Democrats were on board with this idea of rewriting the First Amendment. And you know, where's the media? The media always wraps themselves around the First Amendment whenever they get into trouble, whenever they want to, violate the law. They say, well, I have the First Amendment right. It's the press. Where's the press on this?
Because the press only believes in one part of the First Amendment, freedom of the press. And I've always said we ought to treat the press the way the rest of the First Amendment is treated, and then they may wake up to this. But, these are truly perilous times when members of Congress, prominent senior members of Democrat leadership, or Obama says, I have a pen. These men are not only thinking in ways that we never thought our politicians should think, they're acting in ways they're not supposed to think.
And with that sort of, as what's going on, that's the environment we're in right now. What's your sense about the pulse of the nation when it comes to these midterm elections?
Look, I'll tell you my attitude, and I think it's a lot of people. I think one of the reasons why millions and millions of people stayed home in the last presidential election is they didn't like Obama. They thought he was a whack job, like many of us do. But they didn't like Romney. They thought he just didn't represent their views. He was just kind of out there, as the next Republican to run for president. I think the Republicans will do okay, if not better. I don't really predict these things. I don't waste my time on it. But that said, I think the Republican Party, even if they muscle through or win some big victory here, has a problem. And the problem is the current leadership. And the current leadership has no vision for the country, refuses to take the conservative message of liberty and private property rights and the Constitution to the country, and are so busy trying to crush any dissent within the Republican Party and to back even the worst of the worst incumbents like Thad Cochran, who can't even eat oatmeal without getting help from his consultants in the morning, that there's going to be this big problem, and it's going to fester within the Republican Party. So that's my view.
I believe Cochran's more of a grits man, but I hear you, Mark Levin. Mark Levin, it is an honor every day to be the last word before you start your 6 o'clock show here on WMAL, and now it's even a double-down honor to have you here in the morning.
You guys are terrific. Mark. You really are. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark Levin. He's the great one. It's 8:15 now.